If the conflict with Iran drags on, U.S. President Donald Trump will face mounting pressure both domestically and internationally. Imagine this. On one hand, the daily costs of war are putting direct strain on the U.S. economy. On the other, the public is increasingly frustrated with Trump's policies. Instability in the Middle East, sharp fluctuations in oil markets, and turbulence in international trade all are combining to amplify pressure on the United States. Analysts say this is precisely Iran's intended strategy. They want to place the U.S. president in a situation where continuing the war becomes not only inconvenient, but politically and economically costly. Iran's strategy has largely undermined the original objective of a U.S.-Israeli strike. The initial plan was to execute a rapid, decisive attack to change the regime, but that has not materialized. This failure has made Trump more cautious, and he himself has stated achieving the objective may take another 3 to 4 weeks. Analysts believe the U.S. has limited capacity for a prolonged war. Military, economic, and political risks are converging, increasing pressure on American leadership. Former U.S. diplomat Nabil Khouri notes that Trump's priorities are different. He does not want a long, drawn-out conflict. Daily war costs, economic damage, and declining popularity are all major concerns for him. Iran is exploiting this prolonged pressure, aiming to strategically compel the U.S. president to step back from the war. Iran's approach is indirect. It creates pressure through targeted, intermittent attacks. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, is striking U.S. allies in the Middle East, disrupting the Strait of Hormuz and creating volatility in the international oil market. The Strait of Hormuz is crucial for about 20% of the world's crude oil supply. Iran hopes this strategy will force the U.S. administration to reconsider its decision to continue the war under international pressure. Chatham House senior consulting fellow Galip Dalai says Iran has only one pathway: to exert pressure on Trump by any means. This explains attacks in Gulf countries and strategic obstruction in the Strait of Hormuz. Analysts believe Trump is the only person who can end this conflict, and Iran seeks to increase its leverage to push the U.S. president to withdraw from the war strategically. Economic pressure is mounting as well. Daily U.S. military expenditures, oil market volatility, and Middle Eastern instability are collectively straining efforts to stabilize the economy. Meanwhile, public discontent and political criticism are adding pressure on Trump. If the war continues, Americans will question, do we want to stay engaged in this conflict for longer? A situation likely to erode the president's popularity and cause political fallout. Meanwhile, Iran is gradually strengthening its strategic position. Without using full-scale force, it conducts limited strategic attacks to generate international pressure without triggering a full military confrontation. This strategy forces the U.S. administration to remain mentally and strategically prepared for war, while simultaneously increasing costs and risks. In summary, the situation has created a crisis in which Trump's decisions face new challenges daily. The U.S. economy, political stability, and international interests are all at risk. At the same time, Iran is advancing its strategic objectives, leveraging international pressure and Middle Eastern instability to compel the U.S. president. When this conflict ends will depend entirely on Trump's decisions, and in this high-stakes game, both strategy and patience are crucial.